Today we're going to talk about arrays. Okay. So let me give you, first of all, let's talk about this dice game. Let's go back, let's step back and let's talk about this dice game. This dice, we had 2 dice. So we had let dice 1. Okay, and we generated a random number. We had dice 2, and we generated a random number. Let's go with 6-sided die. Have any of you played Yahtzee before?
Yeah.
How many dice do you have in Yahtzee? 5 dice, all right. Let dice 3 equals meh. Let dice 4 equals meh. Let dice 5 equal meh. Have any of you played Risk? How many dice are in Risk? Actually, there's only 5 dice in Risk. But if you play with me and my friends, you use way more dice than that. Okay? The point here is that as we start building programs that are more and more complex, we might start to see that this type of approach for declaring variables and assigning values to them is not the greatest. Right? What if we had 10 dice? What if we had 20 dice? Oh, am I going to declare 20 variables for dice to represent dice? Okay, there's got to be a better way. And usually the answer in programming always to that question, there's got to be a better way, is yes, there is. We need a structure that can hold multiple items. Okay? And it just so happens that every programming language has this structure, and that structure is called an array. So we get tired of doing this. Instead, we want to do something like this. Sure. So let or const. Let's get into the habit of really using const all the time. Okay. Const. Is it one die, multiple dice? Yeah. Die is singular. Okay. I should know this, but like this has been like a problem ever since I was a child. Dice. Let's convert these values into an array. An array uses a little bit of a different syntax. It uses these square brackets like this. Okay, this is our first introduction to the square brackets. And inside these square brackets, we can put values. Values. So 6, 4, 2, 1, 6. 6, 4, 2, 1, 6. Here is an array that represents 5 dice. Let's try that with strings. So we can put strings in an array. Const fruit. Peach. Plum. There. We have an array of fruit that contains 3 values. Peach, plum, pear. And now they're stored in one variable. Super easy to declare. If I wanted to add another fruit, I can just come over here and say apple. But that doesn't go with the theme, so I'm going to say pineapple instead. Okay, if I wanted to add another dice, I can just put a comma, put another value. So it only holds values. Arrays only hold values. Okay? by value, but the value can be anything, literally anything. Can be a string, it can be an integer, it can be a decimal, it can be a function, unfortunately. It can be another array. It can be a Boolean. It can be a combination. Okay? These things here, they're actually not called values when we're talking about an array. They're called elements. They're elements of an array. They're elements of an array. Okay? So when we're talking about an element, we're talking about one value, one item inside that array, an element. Okay? We can mix and match these things. So it's like junk drawer, pretty much. 5, true, another array of numbers, apple, okay? We can put anything we want in this thing. And we can make it as big as we want. Yep.
In the reading material, you put curly bracket and name, Golden, John as a string. I want to know what type that
In the
is.
reading material, I put that?
Yeah, so. I want to know what
Oh, we're not there yet.
this.
That'll be Wednesday.
Oh,
I didn't write that.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, it made it sound like I wrote that. I'm like, yeah, we're not there yet. We'll have, and that's part of like, again, if I don't write my own book, it's really hard to do things in a very specific order. And I really do think arrays should happen before that stuff, before the curly braces stuff. So that curly brace stuff will happen on Wednesday. We can mix and match anything. Okay. So these are elements. This is an array. This is an array declaration. Okay. If we want to declare an empty string, you would do this, right? Const sum string empty string, right? Then we can start appending to an empty string. If you wanted to declare an empty int to do some plus plus on later, you would probably say that. If you want to declare an empty array, because there are array operations too, you would just do this, empty array. Okay? Because we're going to do some stuff with it later. How do we access these elements? We use the number that represents their location in the array. So for example, if I wanted to access random stuff and I wanted to get apple out of it, I want to access that element, we need to count starting at 0. So we count it out. We say 0, 1, 2, 3. Apple is available at random stuff, square brackets, 3. So here's some new syntax for you again. We use the square brackets again to represent the number that the value is at. Starting at 0, we start counting at 0. 0, 1, 2, 3. Now, this number has a name, and that name is called the index. So we access the elements of an array using their index. So we access these elements in an array using their index. So if I started at 0, what would that give me? 1, 2, another array, and 3 is apple. What happens if I go too far? Undefined. That's right. So if I were to just console log this, take this and print it out, I do get undefined. What happens if I go too far the other way? Undefined. So in some languages, arrays can loop backwards. In JavaScript, they don't. Great.
So I'm thinking if there's like a lot of things in that when you do something like you want to find it very big, you have to count it one by one. Is there any easy way to?
Oh yeah, good question. Great question. So if I have an array that's really long, I have to count them one by one to figure out which one it is at. That would take a long time, and that seems very complicated. Is there a better way to do that? The answer is yeah. There's a much better way to do that. Let's not get into that now. Let's get into that after lunch, though. Okay? Because I want to show you a couple other things. I want to show you, like, adding stuff to an array. Okay? So we added it by going up here. Peach, plum, pear, pineapple, percolate pear. Papaya, yeah. Okay, thank you. So we can add it up there. Or we can do this. What is the end of the array? 0, 1, 2, 3. Fruit 4 equals papaya. Console.log fruit. Let's take a look at that. Peach, plum, pear, pineapple, papaya. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I said fruit 4 equals papaya. So this, just like a variable, right? If I say dice 1, I get 6, right? But if I say dice 1 equals 10, right? These are different, very different. Just like if I say fruit 4 equals, fruit 4 is undefined. Fruit 4 equals, right? This is a get, I'm getting something. This is a set, I'm setting something. Same thing, getting, setting. Getting, assignment. Assignment. Same thing. So I can either get them by their values or I can set them by their, get them by their index or set them by their index. And I am allowed to override existing values. Now I have 2 papayas. I don't even like papayas. And I love pineapples, so I'm a little sad. Okay, so I can get them by their index and I can set them by their index. One other thing I want to point out to you that no one has caught yet, line 15. What type of variable am I using? Const. And look what I'm doing on line 18 and 19. Interesting. Does anyone have a good explanation of why I'm allowed to do this?
Only the fruit is constant, but the index.
You're on a really good path. You're on the way.
The nature of an array can hold multiple elements while assigning a variable with constant only holds one.
So const only prevents the variable from being reassigned to something else. So while I can say, I can change what's in it, no problem, I'm allowed to, but I'm never allowed to change what it is. Right? So that's something very interesting about an array that we haven't yet encountered. All the other data types, strings, integers, decimals, we're changing what it is. We were never changing what's inside of it. When I say dice 1 equals 6 or 1, I changed what was inside of the variable dice 1. Even if I said dice 1 plus plus, I'm not changing the actual whatever was in there before. What I'm essentially doing is destroying what was in there before and putting something new in based on the previous thing. Arrays don't work like that. Arrays, they just exist. We're actually changing the array. We're not destroying what was in there before, destroying this whole thing, throwing it out, and creating a brand new thing with all the same stuff and one little difference. Okay? We're just changing that piece of the array. All right, let's take a break. We just got back. Questions first, then break. Sorry, you need to speak up. Can I assign an integer value? Sure. I can put whatever I want in here. I can literally put anything I want in here. 5. And before you go, let me just blow your mind. I'm not going to ask you to do this. I can do that too. I put a function into this index, into this element. Okay? Literally anything. Doesn't matter. Don't worry, we're not going to do that yet. We'll save that for tomorrow.
Like even an if statement.
No, because but we could put a function with an if statement in it. Yeah, so the thing is, you can put anything that you can assign to a variable, right? And I can assign an if statement to a variable, but as I demonstrated on Friday, I can put a function inside a variable, right? So anything that you can assign to a variable, you can put in there. Anything that you can give a name to. Okay? You all have some speakers to go listen to. And lunch. And some lunch. And that goes for 2 hours. So,